Bobcats come in here at 0-4. They've played the role of spoiler before.
Yes, there's been a history of upsets. In 1988, they ruined a perfect Blair season. Once again, 1992, Blair wound up 9-1 with a defeat to Cambridge. So there has been a history of Cambridge defeats, so look for anything today.
What do you see as the keys in today's ball game for either one of the teams, Tom?
Well, if Blair can establish their running game, they've already established that they have a good passing game. If they can run the football on the wet turf, they should fare well today.
As they say, the weather can always be a great equalizer. We'll find out in just a few moments. The kickoff, folks, is coming up next. Stay tuned for the News Channel 7 Game of the Week. Field in Bellaire, Scott Nolding and Tom Bechtel here with you today as our Game of the Week is just about set to get underway between the Bellaire Big Reds and the Cambridge Bobcats. And as we mentioned in the open, the Bobcats come into this game at 0-4 so far in the 1996 campaign, but this is a series in which the Big Reds have come in favored several times. They've come in with perfect records other times, and the Big Reds have somehow been stung by the Bobcats several times in this series.
Yeah, just in recent history, 1988, great game when Joey Galloway was a junior for the Big Reds. Cambridge came away with a victory, ruined a perfect season for Blair. And once again in 1992, just in very recent history, Cambridge come down here and defeated them on a, I don't want to call it a fluke field goal, but the kid kicked the field goal, barely cleared the crossbar. It was more of a spiral, as one of the Blair coaches told me. So Cambridge has a history of winning, especially here at Nelson Field. So the Big Reds are going to have to be a little weary today of the Bobcats.
And speaking of that 1992 win by the Bobcats, that's actually the last time that the Big Reds have lost here at home was in 1992 to Cambridge. So the Bobcats, as we said, have had the Big Reds number in recent history and really at other times throughout this series down through the years. Now the Big Reds will be receiving here to open up the afternoon action, and the Bobcats will be kicking her away as we get things underway here today from Nelson Field in Bellaire.
Of course, there's been a steady downpour throughout the morning, Scott, and the field appears to be in relatively good position, but as we can see already, there are some wet spots in the middle of the field where the grass has been worn away.
Derek Sochor is back to receive along with Richie Materkoski, both deep back for the Big Reds. And also Clint Lekanodus is one of the deep men back for Bellaire as we get things underway here today from Nelson Field. A squib kick that's picked up by one of the up men and brought up across the 40 and up to the 42-yard line. And that's where the Big Reds will start things off this afternoon as we take a look at the Big Reds starting offensive line. First, Chaz Call, Aaron Sherpas, Brian Sechrest, Jed LaRoche, Jim McFeely, John Keller, and Grant Allen along the line. The backfield consists of quarterback Ty Masciarelli, Clint Lekanodus, Richie Materkoski, and Ben Taylor, the wideout. So here we go, 1st and 10 for the Big Reds on their own 42-yard line as they start things off here as the rain continues to fall. Back to pass, Masciarelli gets away from the rush, breaks the tackle across midfield and up to the 48-yard line. So Materkoski ad-libbing there a bit, and he's close to a first down. Here's the Bobcats defense for this afternoon. Along the line, Brad DeHaze, Travis McGrath, Ben Barris, Jason Kenilworth, Gary Sigmund, Corey Moore, and Jeremy Ham. The defensive backfield, linebacking position also C.J. Logwood. Defensive backs, Drew Harper, Brian Brumfield, and James King.
One thing you got to love about the Big Red offense, Scott, is despite the adverse weather conditions, they come out looking pass on first down, so they're not going to go away from their game plan.
They never do, you're right. Handoff in the backfield, that's Lekanodus. He'll be close to a Big Reds first down. Masciarelli had picked up 9 yards on the first down. It was 2nd and short. That should be good enough for the Big Reds first down. And they're going to spot the ball, and now they say, yes, it is a first down at about the 47-yard line.
Scott, one of the players to watch today for Blair is Richie Materkoski, number 44. He was inserted in the starting lineup last week as the fullback. Earlier in the season, he'd been sharing time at the wide receiver with Grant Allen, but last week stepped in against West Holmes with the fullback position, came up with a couple big touchdowns.
So it's 1st down and 10 for the Big Reds on the 47-yard line. Masciarelli rolling out, pressured by the Bobcat defensive front. Looking downfield, has a man, and it's caught. Chaz Call with the reception down at the 22-yard line. Nice job by Masciarelli, nice job by Chaz Call. It was a great catch And way to hold on to the ball in these conditions with the rain coming down. Here's the replay.
Once again, Scott, Belair has a tight end that can run down the field. Last year, we all knew about Todd Kinder. Chaz Call shows on this play not only the ability to get down the field, but to make the great reception.
Nice snag. Without a doubt, a leaping, diving snag that time. I set this time for the Big Reds. They'll hand it off to the fullback, Materkoski, and nothing doing that time. The Bobcats front right on top of that one that time. Travis McGrath in there, along with Ben Barris in on the tackle for the Bobcats.
Well, Ryan Brooks started out the season as the fullback for Blair. Unfortunately, he suffered a little injury a couple weeks ago, and Materkoski's been inserted in the lineup, and Coach Magistro said it's just a matter of, not that Ryan isn't a good fullback, it's just a matter of Materkoski stepped up and done the job for the Big Reds.
So it's now second down and about 11 after a 1-yard loss. Split backfield. Masciarelli rolling out. Nice block. But Masciarelli falls down. There's going to be a penalty on that block. They're going to call a clip, I believe. Masciarelli, you saw that time just sliding down, and it was a clip. I thought the head might have been in front at first, but I guess he did have the head behind.
Well, unfortunately, we didn't get a good look at it on the replay, but the referee was right on the spot, dropped the hanky, and
saved Masciarelli from being sacked, but he still nonetheless fell down, and still the penalty will be assessed on the Big Reds. So a 15-yarder being marched off against Bellaire, and that's going to push him back close to midfield at about the 47-yard line. You see the folks today here in attendance on the non-home side with the umbrellas going.
Yeah, this is a great place to be a fan if you're a home fan, Scott.
That's true. You got the cover on the far side, keeping you dry all afternoon, no matter what the weather conditions are. Masciarelli back to pass, wants to go downfield, dumps it off over the middle. That's Lekanodus breaking a tackle across the 40-yard line and down to about the 39-yard line as he stretches forward. And so the Big Reds get some back of that yardage that they lost on the penalty, but it's still going to be a long way for a first down for the Big Reds. It'll be third down and looks about 25 from here.
Yeah, well, that was a good play call by Coach Magistro. They had third and 35, and you're not going to get it all in one bunch, but they pick up 10, and if they do the same here, then they'll have an opportunity to go for it on fourth and long.
Here we go. Masciarelli back to pass. Again, he's pressured. Rolls out of the pocket. His pass that time looked as if it slipped out of his hand as he was trying to throw the ball. Pass intended for Ben Taylor. Falls just short that time. And so to bring up fourth down and 25, and Coach Magistro will bring on the punting unit. So that penalty costly to the Big Reds here on their first drive. They were moving it right along, and then that clipping call pushed them way back.
Yeah, absolutely, Scott. And Coach Magistro is going to elect to kick the ball here. Wise decision today. It's going to be a matter of field position, and especially here in the early going.
And the Cambridge Bobcats will be getting the ball here as Taylor puts his foot to it. Wobbly kick. Good punt, though. See where it's officially marked out. It was well out of bounds, but at about the 13-yard line is where it'll be ruled out of bounds, I believe. And so it'll be first down and 10 for the Bobcats on the 13. Let's take a look at that Cambridge offensive line. Tight end is Brad DeHaze. Then along the line you have Danny DeGrello, Chuck Milligan, John Luskovich, Buddy Waddle, Travis McGrath, and C.J. Logwood. In the backfield, Mike Stoner, Gary Sigmund, Chris Vance, and Jeremy Ham at the wideout. So it's first down and 10 for the Bobcats on their own 12-yard line. Split backfield for the Bobcats. Fumble on the snap that time. The Bobcats, though, right back on top of it. So there you see it. Mike Stoner that time losing the handle on the snap, but he's able to jump right back on it. Let's check out the Bellaire Big Reds defense. Mike Banning, John Keller, Aaron Chirpus. Along that front line that you saw there. And the Big Reds pushed the Bobcats back for a loss of 1 that time on the fumble, so it'll be second down and 11. Stoner keeping the ball, rolling out to the near side, looking downfield, fakes his throw. He's going to tuck it underneath. Gets under one tackler, and he's going to be close to a Bobcats first down, and I believe he has it. A nice job that time by Mike Stoner, just putting his head down and trying to push forward for that extra yardage. So it is a first down for the Bobcats as Stoner gets it up to the 24-yard line. It'll be first down and 10 now, Cambridge. And you saw the Bobcats also that time, Tom, even though it's raining, rolling their quarterback out, looking downfield for the pass.
Yeah, well, they're going to look to create some offense today. The field conditions are somewhat adverse, but Coach Spencer's going to come out and open it up today. He's 0-4. He doesn't have a whole lot to lose in that respect.
Split backfield. Quick pitch to the near side. Trying to get around the end is Sigmund, but he slips as he gets up to about the line of scrimmage, and he'll fall forward for a gain of about 2. It'll be 2nd down and 8. Ball now on the 26-yard line.
Yeah, Gary Sigmund's only a sophomore, Scott, but he stepped in the lineup, has done a nice job on both sides of the football for the Bobcats. Of course, the fellow is expected to be their leading rusher, Herschel Waugh. He's out today with an injury. He had a great opening game against the Martins Ferry Purple Riders, but he's out for possibly quite a while now, and he's going to miss a few games.
Split backfield again behind Stoner here. Inside handoff and a gain up across the 30-yard line that time. As Ben Lawrence, the carrier.
Well, the Bobcats are extremely young in that backfield. Ben Lawrence, the fellow just carried the ball. He's a big 220-pound sophomore, and of course we already alluded to Gary Sigmund, who is a sophomore. So Bobcats are a little young in the backfield. Junior quarterback, that bodes well for the future, but right now today they want to put a beating on the Big Reds.
Split backfield again. One wide out split to each side. On a 3rd down and 3 situation now for the Bobcats. Stoner at quarterback. Gives the handoff. That's Lawrence again, pushing ahead, and he'll have enough yardage for the 1st down. So the Bobcats not doing anything special. They're just going up the middle. Inside handoff and riding the middle part of their offensive line, and that time good enough for another 1st down for the Bobcats.
Well, on a day like today, big fellow like Lawrence can do some damage. You know, the footing is tough. Big fellow like that can get that tough yardage up the middle, Scott.
You know, a lot of people, you talk about the inexperience of the Bobcats. They lost some talented athletes from a year ago, Jameel Turner, T.J. King. They had some players a season ago on that Bobcat team.
Yeah, of course, Turner's up at the University of Toledo playing a little football.
Handoff in the backfield again. That's Sigmund. He'll get a few, gain of about 3. And it'll be 2nd down and about, it looks like it's closer to about a gain of 4. We'll call it 2nd down and about 6.
Yeah, I'll tell you, T.J. King last year was one of my favorite football players. He was just a hard-nosed young man, and I think he's now attending school up at West Liberty, but just a great football player. And
great football player, a fantastic wrestler. OVAC champ again last year in wrestling. Fell just short of his quest for an Ohio State championship. But he was one heck of an athlete. Split backfield again, and we got movement. Some of the Bobcats jumping that time. So they'll be penalized 5 yards, and it'll be 2nd down at about 11 yards now after the false start penalty against the Bobcats.
One thing about the Bobcats, they have pretty decent size along that front line, Scott. Danny DeGrallo checks in about 225. Eric Glass, 210. Chuck Milligan, 215. Buddy Waddell, 220. John Luskovich, the center, is a little undersized at 175, but pretty decent size along that front.
This penalty will push them back to 2nd down at 11. We'll see if the penalty hurts them the way the penalty did on the first drive for the Big Reds. This not as costly as the 15-yard penalty was to Bellaire. It's 2nd down at 11, though. I set this time behind Stoner. He'll keep the ball rolling out, looking downfield again. Stoner gets away from one, but won't get away from another defensive man from the Big Reds. Put that down that time by Aaron Chirpus. Chirpus that time on the sack. The Big Reds got good pressure in the backfield that time and were able to get Stoner down. Here's the replay.
Yeah, we see the heavy pressure here by Bubba, Brian Sechrest, number 58, and Aaron Chirpus comes in and cleans up. The Big Reds have really been pleased with the play of both their offensive and defensive line. They have a couple new starters on that line this year, and Chirpus has come up big on both sides of the football.
Chirpus, just a junior, but he is a letterman from a season ago. I set again. They'll send a man in motion coming to the near side. That's Chris Vance out of the backfield. They want to throw again. Stoner receives a good block looking downfield. And it's his tight end, but it's been tipped and intercepted. Ben Taylor gets it off the tip that time. Jason Kenilworth with the tip off the hands that time and just unable to hold on, and Taylor in the right place at the right time.
Well, Scott, we always talk about the best pass defense being the rush. We see it here. Stoner's under heavy pressure. Of course, the ball was tipped, and that's bad news. And Mr. Versatility, Ben Taylor, does it everywhere. Punts the football, catches passes. One of the leading tacklers he's just one of the most outstanding football players in the entire Ohio Valley.
He's a team captain and a 2-year letterman for this Big Reds team, and that's a pretty remarkable feat when you think about the talent that they have, that he's been able to letter twice, and he's a captain of this team here in his senior season with the Big Reds. Bobcats jumping that time, and so the Big Reds are going to pick up an easy 5. It'll be 1st and 5 for Bellaire as the ball will move up to the 44-yard line.
Well, that's not a situation that Coach Spencer wants to see. You just can't allow this Blair offense to start out 1st and 5 because they just have too many weapons in their arsenal.
So it is 1st down and 5 for the Big Reds. Ball on the 44-yard line. They'll send 2 wideouts to the far side. Masciarelli under center. And off to Richie Materkoski. He's deep into Bobcats territory down at the 26-yard line. And a big gainer that time, going for about 18 yards, is Materkoski.
Well, we talked about Richie early. He's been inserted in the starting lineup. He's a hurdler on the track team, so he tends to be very athletic. And we see it here. He gets out in the open field. He can get those wheels turning.
Some good blocking again by that Big Reds offensive line also. He wasn't touched until he got into the Bobcats defensive backfield.
I'll tell you, on the Blair offense, you want to watch the right side there. Number 58, Sechrest, Chirpus, number 77. They open some big holes.
They run back right over those 2 guys that you just mentioned, Tom, and that's Materkoski again, getting across the 20 and down to the 17-yard line. Boy, you could see at that time, if you paid attention to that right side of that offensive line. Well, as soon as Materkoski was right there, those defensive linemen were completely gone.
We can see it here, the right side of the line. Chirpus and Sechrest just open a big hole, and anybody can run through that hole, Scott.
Yep. 2nd and 1, a gain of 9. Clock turning down to 3:50 to go in the opening quarter. No score yet. I set. Hand off to Clint Lekanodus. He should have enough for the Big Reds 1st down. Not much doing that time. Got wrapped up by one of the linebackers for the Bobcats that time.
Coach Magister really feels that one of the keys to the early season success has been that offensive line. It's his belief with the complicated offense they run makes it especially tough on the offensive linemen and their blocking assignments. And, so far, John Keller, Jim McFeely, Jed LaRoche, and, of course, Sechrest and Chirpus, he feels they've done an outstanding job in adjusting to the Blair offense and just some outstanding blocking in the early season.
Let's see with the measurement here. They bring the sticks over. And, yes, it is good enough for a 1st down. As it looks like the rain starts to pick up a little bit here at Nelson Field.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, Scott, it's coming down extremely hard, and I'm sure the Big Reds would like to get something on the board here in early going because this field is going to get extremely muddy and footing is going to become difficult.
As you can see on that wide shot just behind the Bellaire huddle, there is obviously the turf already torn up. You get the main part of the field in the first place between the 30 and the 40 on each side, and puddles are beginning to form, so it's going to be key to score early. Lekanodus, the handoff in the backfield, and a nice gainer inside the 10-yard line, down to about the 8. It's going to be a gain of close to 8. It'll still be 2nd down and about 2 now for the Big Reds.
Clint Lekanodus has come up real big for the Blair offense. He had a great game against Beaver earlier in the season, picked up 176 yards against Beaver local, and he's been a pleasant surprise on offense. Starter last year on the defensive side of the ball, probably their best defensive back, but offensively he's been improving week to week.
So it is now 2nd down, and they'll call it closer to 1, down to about the 7-yard line. 2 wideouts to the far side. Fumble on the snap. Who has it? The Bobcats were in there quickly. The official marks it down, though, so the Big Reds back on top of it. And it looks like
Richie
Materkoski was on top of it that time. Here's the replay.
Yeah, Richie did a great job of getting on this fumble. Of course, on a wet day, you're going to have some problems with the handoffs. And
it was right there, and, yeah, Materkoski just was able to dive right in there. So it'll bring up now 3rd down and 2 as the ball does fall back to the 8-yard line where it's recovered. It's now 2:45, and the clock continues to turn in the opening quarter. No score just yet, but the Big Reds are knocking on the door. Inside handoff to Materkoski. Breaks off of a tackle and does a nice job to pick up the 1st down. He was stopped in the backfield, but kept moving and gets across the 5-yard line down near the 4 for the Big Reds 1st down, 1st and goal, Bellaire.
Well, Richie's not big in terms of fullbacks. Only goes in at about 170 pounds, but showed some good elusiveness on that play. Picked up a key 1st down.
So it's now 1st and goal from the 4 for Bellaire. Once again, they'll send Sochor and Taylor out to the far side. Backfield of Lekanodus and Materkoski behind Masciarelli. Chaz Call at the tight end. That's Lekanodus looking for a block to get around side. Stretches. Touchdown. Clint Lekanodus goes in from 4 yards out on the sweep to the near side, and Belair strikes first. They lead 6-0.
Well, that's Clint's 7th touchdown on the year. He has 4 rushing and 2 receiving, and he picks up number 7 here, and it may be the biggest one of the season so far. Does a nice job, gets a key block there, and Clint dives for the end zone.
Just gets across that goal line and gets the ball in there for the touchdown. Justin Homer about set to try the point after touchdown. They're going to fake it. That's Lednick with the ball towards the end zone. Couldn't tell. I was actually looking down at my card. I don't know if it was a bad snap at first or not. But Lednick came out of there with the ball, trying to throw it towards the end zone. Here you go again. So I'll have a chance to see for the first time whether it was a bad snap or if they did want to fake it. Yes, it couldn't get a handle on it. By that time, he just elected to pick it up and try and throw it in for the 2-point conversion. Looking for Chaz Call that time. Ball was tipped and knocked down. And so it stays 6-0 in favor of the Bellaire Big Reds with 2 minutes and 12 seconds still left to play here in the first quarter. And that's a big score. You want to get on the board early.
They definitely do. Of course, the extra point could be big. Blair is going to kick the ball. Justin Homer, he's a freshman. The coach has been real pleased with his range this year and his kicking ability. And that's something they haven't had in past years. They didn't have a real good kicker last year. So this year they're real pleased. They got a freshman. Looks like they're pretty solid at that position for the next 4 years.
So they're going to have to kick the ball back off to the Bobcats, and Cambridge trailing 6-0. And as you said, in this series of you never know what to expect, a missed field goal, a missed extra point, you name it, it could come down to mean the difference in this ball game.
I can remember an unbelievable game. Of course, you probably don't remember back in 1976, Scott.
No.
But 13-0, Blair's leading. They're going in for the 3rd touchdown shortly before the half. A pitch play looked like an obvious touchdown. Bounced off the Blair running back's shoulder pads. Cambridge, I believe a fellow named Mark Green, took it 90 yards. Cambridge won that game 14-13. Just the most unbelievable turnaround I've seen in football history, so anything can happen.
High end-over-end kick. It comes down. The Bobcats with the return. That's Sigmund. And Sigmund gets a good return out over the 36-yard line. So it'll be 1st down and 10 for the Bobcats on their own 36-yard line. They've got good field position to start this drive off with.
Bobcats that day had a fellow named Doug Donnelly. I don't know if you're old enough to remember him, Scott, but he played a little football for the Dallas Cowboys. He was an outstanding athlete.
I remember the name.
Played that day with one arm. He literally had his arm in a sling and played that game, but he was just a great athlete.
Stoner at quarterback again with the split backfield. He has 2 wideouts to the far side. Gives the quick pitch. That's to Sigmund. A big hole. Sigmund up near the 49-yard line. And that'll be good for a 1st down, a gain of 13 that time on the carry by Gary Sigmund.
Hey, the Cambridge staff has to be pleased with their 2 young sophomore backs. Gary Sigmund showed some great foot movement on that play, and appears he has some quickness, and along with Lawrence, they look pretty well fortified for the next couple of seasons at the RB position.
The Bobcats want to try and get on this scoreboard also early as the rain continues to hammer down here at Nelson Field. Split backfield again for Stoner. And both sides of the line jumped. Hard to see if the Big Reds were in that neutral zone first.
And naturally, both teams are pointing at the other one. We'll let the referees sort it out, Scott.
Exactly. And it is going to be against Bellaire, as you see the encroachment penalty called against the Big Reds. They were in that neutral zone just a little bit too early before that ball was snapped. And you can see Stoner probably changing up his call, his cadence just a little bit as the line gets set. There you see the Big Reds jumping in there. And then a couple of the offensive linemen for the Bobcats move, but that was after the fact. I set now for the Bobcats on 1st and 5 from the Bellaire 47. Hand off to Lawrence. He'll have a gain of close to 4. It should be 2nd down at about 1. This is the Bobcats' first ball area into Big Red's territory this afternoon. This is the first time they've had the ball across the 50-yard line. So they're down to the 46, 41-yard line, that is, of Bellaire, and it'll be 2nd down now and 1 for the Bobcats.
Cambridge early in this game just doesn't appear to be an 0-4 team, but obviously they've ran up against some tough competition. Ferry in the opener, I'll tell you, they look good, except for a couple mistakes. They could have walked away with the victory that night.
I set again behind Stoner. That's Sigmund. He'll have enough for the first down, pushing forward for a few more. Down to the 38-yard line. It'll be first down and 10 for the Bobcats from the 38. As you said, they have played a tough opening part of their schedule, and in that opener, we had them here on News Channel 7, and just falling short to that very tough Martins Ferry team, who is now 5-0 on the season. And the Purple Riders are really riding high up there. Coach Bruni has his boys playing very well.
I'll tell you, do they have some outstanding running backs or what?
Brinker is just phenomenal.
And
Corey Delguzzo, another one, you can't forget him.
I'll tell you, their quarterback, Justin Hill's done a fine job in the early season.
Again, movement, and this time it is going to be against the Bobcats.
Yeah, it appears the right guard just didn't have the snap count right, went a little bit early, and going to set up a tough 1st and 15 situation.
And that's not what the Bobcats want to see here this afternoon. They don't want to hurt themselves penalty-wise. What appears you're already playing against the weather. You don't want to be playing against yourself like that also.
What appears their success in the early going here has been on the ground, and you just don't like to set up 1st and 15 because it makes it a little tougher to pick up that yardage.
So it is first down and 15, as Tom mentioned. Ball at the 43-yard line now for the Bobcats. And another penalty flag comes falling down.
Well, it appears they're going to mark off 5 against Blair, and we're back to 1st and 10.
Back in the neutral zone again.
Let's start all over again.
Well, put her right back where she was. All right. Back down to the 38-yard line. Well, the Bobcats got to be happy with that. They're dancing in between the 38 and the 43, back and forth. Let's hope they don't go back that way again. Stoner, handoff. That's Lawrence. He'll get a couple of tough yards that time, up to about the 41. It'll be gain of about 2, so it'll be second down now and 8 for the Bobcats, just shy of the 40. Just shy of the 35, that is, excuse me.
Yeah, interesting note today, Scott. I noticed the changes are on this side of the field. And traditionally, they're opposite the press box, but I believe because of the muddy field conditions on the opposite side of the field, they've switched them over. So gives you some indication of just how wet the some of the playing surface is.
And so there's a timeout on the field right now. We got, actually, that's the end of the quarter. Boy.
I was going to say, that was a rapidly moving first quarter there, Scott.
I was even shocked by the end of that quarter, so it is the end of the quarter. All righty, let's take a break. 6-0 in favor of the Bellaire Big Reds. Second quarter play coming up next here on the News Channel 7 Game of the Week. Welcome back, everybody. Nelson Field, Bellaire, opening of the second quarter. 6-0 in favor of the Big Reds. Bobcats moving with the ball. Pitch in the backfield. That's Sigmund breaking a tackle. Gary Sigmund down to about the 25-yard line. They'll mark him down at about the 26. That's going to be close to a first down. Looks like he should have enough.
I'm sure Coach Spencer would like to get this ball into the end zone, Scott. If they could get in there and get the lead, that would certainly bolster their confidence. Let's be realistic. When you're 0-4,
right,
you tend to be down just a little bit, and you know, they have suffered some tough losses here in the early going. So they could get the ball in the end zone here early in the second quarter, get a lead. Who knows what could happen here today?
Staying in this ball game is only going to bolster their confidence as the afternoon goes along. Split backfield behind Stoner. Handoff to Sigmund again. Inside carry that time. He'll gain a few across the 25 and down to about the 23-yard line. Call it a gain of close to about 2. It'll be second down and 8 now for the Bobcats. And they've been content to go with that inside handoff and the pitch to the outside, and they're doing it because it's working right now. And they're getting good play out of both Lawrence and Sigmund in the backfield today. As you mentioned, Herschel Waugh, the man who was supposed to be in the backfield, out with an injury, so they've got to be pleased with the play of their young backfield.
Well, coaches always talk about the game being won at the line of scrimmage. Right now in this series, Cambridge winning that battle.
Sigmund the carrier that time, and Bellaire has nothing to do with it, and your buddy's right there in the middle.
Big Bubba, number 58, Brian Sechrest. Talked to Coach about him earlier in the season. Of course, big things were expected from Bubba. You know, he was an outstanding football player last year, and Coach Magistro said Bubba has a defensive player's mentality. He comes out to stick you on every play, and we see it there as he wrestles the ball carrier to the ground. A little bit of emotion afterwards.
He's fired up about the fact, and for good reason. That pushes him back to a 3rd and long situation. It'll be 3rd down and about 9 now. Ball on about the 24. Clock continuing to turn as we've just opened the second quarter. I set now. Fourth fumble on the snap, and Stoner's just going to have to jump back on top of it. Ball's going to be down at the 26-yard line. Looked that time like the ball just went right through his legs.
Yeah, that pigskin is just extremely wet, and just a matter of Stoner couldn't find a handle on the football, and sets up
his hands there.
Sets up a tough fourth down and about 11 situation.
This point in the field, though, this is a go-for-it situation. Obviously, you're down at the 26. In these field conditions, you're not really going to have much of a chance at a field goal. Your kicker would be standing in a huge puddle at about the 37. They're going to line Stoner up in the shotgun. Split two wideouts to the near side. Let's see if they can't get something going. Stoner downfield. Has his man Sigmund, makes a nice catch. Tries to get away from one man, but he can't. Ben Taylor's there on the tackle along with Sochor. Gets to the 19, but he's going to be shy of the first down. Sigmund made a nice adjustment on the ball, but still couldn't pick up enough yardage for the first down.
Yeah, this is a nice little play ran here by the Bobcats. Sigmund does a great job of coming back, catching the football, and Benny Taylor.
Right there again. He's been responsible for ending the Bobcats' drives a couple of times now.
Well, Benny's
interception the last time.
Benny's a solid defensive player. Last year, charted somewhere around 90 tackles on the season, 7 big interceptions. So he's big on the defensive side of the football.
And off to Materkoski, who gets a nice gainer over the 25 up to about the 28-yard line. He'll be close to a Bellaire first down.
Well, Richie gives Blair one more weapon in that backfield. He does possess the good quickness, as we talked about, and he also has the ability to catch the football, so he puts another receiver into the Blair lineup.
So it's going to be 2nd down and 1. It was a 9-yard gain by Materkoski. Sochor and Taylor split out to the far side. Lekanodus and Materkoski in the backfield behind Masciarelli. Masciarelli, handoff to Lekanodus, gets a nice block at the line of scrimmage, but then the hole closes quickly as he gets across the 30-yard line to the 31. It will be enough yardage, though, for the Big Reds' first down. So they move the chains again to the Big Reds.
Scott, interestingly enough, we all know about Jose Davis, Richie, Mamie, what outstanding players they were. Coach Magistro said a fan pointed out to him that one of the biggest losses was the fullback, Bobby Roth, and the versatility he brought to their offense. And that's why they like Richie Materkoski. Hopefully he can fill that role that, Bobby did so outstandingly for the playoff runner-ups last year.
What's funny, as we get ready here on 1st down and 10, the talent that this team lost from a year ago. Lekanodus with the carry, a big gainer across the 40 up to the 44-yard line. The talent, though, that they lost from a year ago and to still be coming back into this season, 1996, it proves that by winning last year, and as well as they did, these guys got that little winning bug in them. They got that attitude of we know we can win. And they also had a chance to be around a bunch of winners all season long and see what it was like.
Sure, well, let's talk about the Big Red tradition. 1992, we already alluded to the fact, 9-1. 1993, 8-2 in the playoffs. 1994, 9-1, rolling in the last game. Perfect season ruined by Martins Ferry in the last game. And, of course, last year, everybody knows 13-1. So they've had quite a run there. Regular season, last 4 years, 36-4. Haven't lost on this field since 92. So the Big Reds do indeed have quite a football tradition.
Coach Magistro has really made it something special here for these Big Reds fans in the 90s, for sure, just when you look at those records there. Not much doing on that last play for Materkoski. In fact, he lost about a yard. It'll be 2nd down and 11. Grant Allen and Ben Taylor split out here to the near side. Masciarelli goes back to the other side to Materkoski. He's got wide open territory across the 50. Down to the Bobcat 48-yard line is where he's upended.
Tell you what makes Blair just so tough. They sent out 4 receivers on that play, which presents quite a challenge to any defensive backfield. What happens? Masciarelli dumps the ball off to the 5th receiver. So just not a whole lot of high school football teams that are willing to send out 5 receivers. Blair's willing to do it just about on every play. So creates a whole lot of headaches for that defensive coordinator of Cambridge.
They're going to bring out the chains. It'll either be 3rd and short or it'll be a first down for the Big Reds as they bring them from the near side for us over to the far side of the football field and stretch him out. It looks like he's going to be just short, yes, by about a yard or so. Just a few links on that chain, keep them from a first down, closer to about a yard. So it'll be 3rd down and about 1 now for the Big Reds. If they want to keep this drive going, they got to pick up a yard. The Bobcats defense is looking, I think, for a timeout.
Yeah,
they're going to take one.
The coaching staff from Cambridge wants a timeout. They feel this is a crucial play and want to make sure they have the right defensive call in for this crucial 3rd down and 1 situation.
So it's 3rd and 1. Our score 6-0 in favor of the Big Reds here in the second quarter of play. Belair trying to improve out to 5-0 on 1996. 7 minutes and 8 seconds still left to play here before the opening half. And I tell you what, while we have a timeout, how about some of the other teams so far around the valley that have gotten off to quick starts? You mentioned the Martins Ferry Purple Rhiners. They're playing well, but also other teams that are having pretty good seasons. How about the John Marshall Monarchs over in West Virginia? They're off to another fine start, beating the #1 ranked North Marion Huskies last night.
Yeah, I had a chance to catch some of those highlights last night on the Blitz, and they literally blitzed North Marion. They're a strong football team. Had a chance to see them a couple weeks ago against South Charleston. Nothing fancy about the Monarchs. They just come out and play some good old-fashioned football, but they have some various weapons, and those running backs, Lori and Snyder, I'll tell you, just 2 of the best in the valley, probably 2 of the best in the state of West Virginia.
It'll be interesting to see how far up the Monarchs jump in this week's West Virginia poll. They were in at #4 last Tuesday when the poll came out. The Huskies were #1, so quite possibly you could see John Marshall #1, but obviously at this point of the season, that's not really what everybody's worried about. Let's just get into the playoffs, and then things will take care of themselves, because I'm sure, as most Monarch fans can remember, I can recall a few seasons ago when they went into the playoffs undefeated and ranked #1 and were knocked off by a #16 seed.
Well, it's interesting to see what we have here, Scott. The foul up on the snap.
And I think, yes, the Bobcats have it. Boy, that's a tough one for Bellaire. They had a 3rd and short situation.
Yeah,
here's the replay.
I think we had a foul up on the snap count, as you're aware. The ball snapped, and the quarterback appears to be the most surprised guy in the stadium today, and the ball fell to turf, and Cambridge comes up with a big recovery.
That's a big stop for the Bobcats. They'll get the ball back. Great field position right near midfield at the 48-yard line. So Cambridge dodges a bullet here, and they'll take back over offensively. Working out of the power, or no, they're in the shotgun. Looked like for a second from my vantage point, they were in the old power I. Stoner wants to go downfield. His receiver falls down, and in a way, he worked as a shield against Sochor, trying to get to that ball. As Tony Cunningham trying to make his cut back towards the ball, but just slipped on this wet turf and fell down, and Sochor couldn't get over top of him.
Of course, Cunningham is one of the returning veterans for the Bobcats, and big things are expected from Tony, but early in the season he had to sit out with some injuries, so good to see him back in the lineup, and I'm sure he's going to add a big plus to this Cambridge offense.
You saw the Bobcats trying to go right to the air that time. Now we have a split backfield behind Stoner, who's up under center. 2 wideouts here to the near side. They'll give the pitch in the backfield. That's Sigmund. Sigmund breaks a tackle. Gary Sigmund, a big gainer, and woo! Welcome to Slip and Slide City there, huh?
Yeah, that was definitely a big gainer.
Yeah, it looked like he was doing it off the high dive that time as he hit that puddle. Check out the splash here. I give him about a 9.8 on the splash. Sigmund gets around and then, hello.
I'll tell you, great job by the cameraman. Tell you, this early going here in the first half, I'm extremely impressed with Gary Sigmund.
He has played excellently. Sigmund, as we mentioned earlier, just a sophomore, playing well here in the first half. Inside handoff that time. It's Sigmund again. Not much doing that time. A gain of maybe 1. It'll be 2nd down and 9 now for the Bobcats. And the Bobcats just in general have played well here in the first half also. They've been helped out by a couple of miscues by the Big Reds. The fumble on this snap on the last time helping them out on this drive. But still, that's what to expect here, I guess, in the wet conditions here this afternoon. But the Bobcats, as we mentioned, coming in here at 0-4, not playing like an 0-4 ball club at all. I sent this time behind Stoner. That's Lawrence and Sigmund. Lawrence, and nothing going that time. The Big Reds defensive front right there once again to halt the attack.
Well, Blair's had a pretty solid effort throughout the season from their defense, and Wes Carter, big number 73. He's a junior defensive tackle, and coach has been extremely pleased with Wes. Interesting story about Wes. The Monday after the state finals last year, he was in the weight room pumping iron for this season. Coach Magistro told him, why don't you take a week off? He said, no, we got some business to take care of next year. So great attitude in the young man, and it's showing here on the football field.
Something you like to see. Stoner downfield. Cunningham has him. Stretches forward. He'll be up to about the 30-yard line. He's going to be close to a first down. I think he might be just a little short, maybe by about a yard. It's going to be 4th down and about 1, but a nice adjustment that time by Stoner. It's closer to 4th and 2, and also by Cunningham making the catch.
I tell you, Tony shows great ability to go up and get the football, and nice reception. Sets up a 4th and short opportunity here, and Coach Spencer would love to pick up this first down.
So it's 4th down now and about 2. Clock turning, 5 minutes left to play here in the opening half. Sigmund and Lawrence in the backfield behind Stoner. Stoner comes out of the backfield that time, and I think he was just trying to get the defensive front from the Big Reds to jump, and they did so. And they get the first down easily that time.
Tell you what, good play call.
Just came out like he was going in motion. And as soon as the Big Reds saw that, just went ahead and jumped into the neutral zone, obviously thinking the ball had been snapped. So that's the way to pick up the first down.
Credit the Cambridge staff for the good play call, and they'll take a first down any way they can get it.
So it's 1st and 10 now for the Bobcats on the 25-yard line after the 5-yard penalty. Stoner will line up in the shotgun again. He's got Cunningham split to the far side. Kenworthy split out to the near side. Pitch in the backfield, looking downfield for Cunningham. Oh, almost came up with the reception. Lekanodus defending that time. Ball that time just went through Cunningham's hands. Had he caught it, he may have been able to dance into the end zone for 6.
Yeah, it appeared Tony would have had clear sailing in the end zone, and great opportunity for the Bobcats. Got to love Coach Spencer's style here. He's pulling out all the stops, a little bit of shotgun. Nice trick play on 4th down and 3. So the Bobcats came down to Nelson Field today, and they have every intention of returning to Cambridge with a victory.
2nd down and 10 now after the incompleted pass. I set this time behind Stoner. That's Lawrence and Sigmund once again. C.J. Logwood split out to the near side, and I think the Big Reds just jumped again. Looks like they're going to pick up another 5 yards with the Bobcats.
Yeah, the nose guard definitely came across the line of scrimmage. We're going to see the indication here from referee Rusty Vermillion. Encroachment on the defense, and
Sigmund, a junior quarterback for the Bobcats, doing a nice job so far directing this Bobcats offense.
Yeah,
changing his signal, calling up a little bit there, obviously, to get the defensive front to jump.
Yeah, Mike Stoner is a little bit of a smaller signal caller, at only 5'9", but done a nice job of running the Bobcat offense today.
Looking downfield, lobbing it up towards the end zone, nearly intercepted, but the ball was out of bounds that time anyways. Looking for C.J. Logwood. Sochor that time, I believe, the man on the coverage for the Big Reds.
Yeah, that was a pretty well-thrown ball, but unfortunately the receiver just ran out of real estate, and defensive back had a slight chance at it, but I think he may even caught it out of bounds.
It's 3rd down and 5, ball on the 20-yard line, and obviously in this field position right here.
Tell you, I don't know if Blair has a swim team, but looks like we could have a meet right after this
You're
game
about right,
today.
I'd say. Field getting torn up, too, right at about the 40-yard line on each side, so scoring early is going to be a key here today, without a doubt. Fumble on the snap by Stoner, gets back on top of it, and he'll be stopped right at the line of scrimmage. So it's going to be 4th down and 5 now for the Bobcats, and we've seen that a few times here today, and I don't think you need to belabor the point, but it's just a wet surface, wet ball, and hard to hold on to it.
Well, there was a host of tacklers on that play. Chaz call number 31. Ben Taylor is the free safety, so obviously he's setting up pretty deep in the backfield, but he was right on top of that play, and one of many of a host of Big Red tacklers on the play.
He seems to have a nose for the ball wherever he's at on the field. Somehow he'll get to it. If he's on offense or if he's on defense, he'll find a way to try and get to that ball somehow.
Well, I think the Blair coaching staff has given him a free rein, and he does set up the free safety position, but his job is to hunt out and find the football.
In motion, that's Lawrence to the near side. They'll hand the ball off to Sigmund, and he'll push forward down to about the 16-yard line. He's still going to be short, though, of the first down, and so the Big Reds are going to take over on downs. 1st and 10 from about their own 17-yard line. So the Bobcats drive is stopped by downs that time, and it's unfortunate for Cambridge. They had a nice drive going.
Yeah, that was a big stop for the Big Red defense, but I'm sure Coach Spencer is imploring his troops right now. There's still 3:38 on a stop clock, so they can hold them, get the ball back, they'll probably have one more opportunity before the half.
So Masciarelli back out now with the Big Reds offense, sends two wideouts to the far side. He'll hand it off in the backfield, though, to Clint Lekanodus. Got a big gainer. Lekanodus trying to get outside. Clint across the 40, 45, 50, into Bobcat territory at the 35-30. Knocked out of bounds at about the 25-yard line. C.J. Logwood making the touchdown-saving tackle as he pushed Lekanodus out at about the 26-yard line.
Well, that was a 58-yard run by Clint, and he showed he possesses a little bit of sprinter speed on this play. Nothing fancy, just a little end run, and Clint is off to the races. And give the credit to C.J. Logwood, shows some good wheels himself, runs down Lekanodus, and after the big pickup, Big Reds in business, 1st and 10 at the 25.
So Belair in fantastic field position now, 1st and 10 at the 25-yard line. Two wideouts split out to the near side, Taylor and Sochor. Chaz called the tight end. Handoff, that's to Materkoski. Richie pushes forward down close to the 22-yard line. That'll be a gain close to about 3. We'll call it 2nd down and 7 now. Clock turning down to 3 minutes and 10 seconds to play in the opening half. And this would be a big score for Bellaire if they could put another touchdown on the board here going into halftime after the way the Bobcats have played so far here in the first half.
Yeah, Clint Lekanodus has been Mr. Big Play this year. Of course, in the Edison game, he had the game-winning interception of about 15 yards late in that contest. So he's come up real big for the Big Reds in the early season.
Masciarelli rolling out, looking downfield, has his tight end, Chaz Cole, in and out of his hands.
Pass intended for number 31, Chaz Cole, falls incomplete.
All that time unable to come up with a reception. James King that time did get over and put a hand up in front of Cole's face. I don't know if that would have been what caused him to miss the ball. Looked like he may have had to, the ball just, here's the replay, go off of his shoulder pads and fall incomplete.
Yeah, nice job of protecting Ty on his play, and once again, it's a fairly well-thrown ball. It hits Mr. Cole in the hand, but with the slippery pigskin, he just couldn't come up with it. Once again, Blair had 5 receivers out on that route, so they just present some real challenges to that Cambridge defense.
And Masciarelli looks good when he's rolling out. There's Lekanodus, Clint Lekanodus across the 20 and down close to the 15-yard line.
Well, the Blair offensive coordinator has done a great job of varying the offense, and on that play, once again, they send out 4 receivers, little handoff to Lekanodus. So they just stretch the Cambridge defense out and just present all kind of different offensive opportunities for the Big Reds.
I have been impressed, though, today with Masciarelli's ability to throw on the run, even in the wet conditions today, keeping his footing and getting the ball downfield.
Well, that was one of the concerns coming into the season. They knew Masciarelli was a good athlete, started on the defensive side of the football as a sophomore last year, and they knew he could throw the ball, but one of their concerns was, could they protect him, which the offensive line has done relatively well in the early season, and the other thing would be, would he be elusive? And I'll tell you, in the early season, I've had a couple chances to see him here, and he's done a great job of eluding the on-rushers and delivering the football. So, you know, Ty Masciarelli, right now I think he's the leading passer in the big schools in the Ohio Valley. You know, he's just stepped up really big and done everything that the coaches have asked of him in the early season.
They measure that time, and they're just shy of a first down, are the Big Reds. It's going to bring up 4th down and very short, less than a yard. They need to get to about the 15-yard line. They're on just over the 16-yard line, just shy of the 15.
Of course, with 2:19 remaining in the half, and the Big Reds have all their timeouts left, so plenty of time here. It's just a matter they have to pick up this crucial first down. Is that Big Bird, or who is that down there, Scott?
I think that's Chris Kanicki. I'm not sure. That is Chris Kanicki. Hard to tell when they look like a big banana. Or a duck, as they call us. And Charlene Stratura also down there. Down there with our field mic.
With the cameraman, please leave the field.
I'll tell you what, I'm about to speak to my man Rusty Vermillion. He's getting on my camera crew down there. Don't appreciate that, Rust. Only kidding. He's a good friend of mine.
I'd hate to see what would happen if Bobcats would get a ball, though, and run it back. It might have one of our cameramen make a tackle.
Well, my man Jerry Case down there on the camera, he's pretty quick, so I'm sure he'd be out of the way.
He'd probably make the stop. Just a tight inside handoff that time. And it was a short gain, but they just needed some short yardage, so we'll have to see. And yes, it is a first down. They do get the ball up to the 15. And so it'll be 1st down and 10 now for Bellaire on the 15-yard line.
Well, it's real important now that Cambridge can come up with a stop here, because considering the wet field conditions, Scott, I just don't think there's going to be a whole lot of points put on the board today. So if they can come up with a stop here late in the going here in the first half, it'd be really crucial.
Masciarelli, handoff to Lekanodus. Outside, Lekanodus across the 10, down to the 5, and down near the goal line. Down to about the 2-yard line is where he's marked down. Lekanodus running the ball well again. A gain that time of about 13.
Well, Clint has been the leading rusher throughout the early season for the Big Reds. We already alluded to the fact that he had a great game against Beaver. Local picked up 176 yards, but he's averaging about 5.6 every time he touches the football, so he does show some explosiveness from that running back position.
First and goal now for the Big Reds. Ball on the 2-yard line. Masciarelli with Materkoski and Lekanodus in the backfield. Lekanodus cuts, gets into the end zone, touchdown. Clint Lekanodus gets in from 2 yards out as he goes around the end into the end zone, touchdown. They reward him after that big 58-yard gainer he had to set up this scoring drive, and here goes Clint Lekanodus.
Well, we get a look at it here, and nothing fancy about this play, just some nice blocking.
Does a nice job.
Jimmy McFeely, number 53, with a nice kick-out block, and Lekanodus takes it in the end zone for his second touchdown of the day.
And so I think this time they are going to elect to try and go for 2 and get it back up to 14 after the last kick try. The snap was bad, and they had to try and throw it into the end zone for the 2-point conversion. So they'll try and just go for 2 here and make it 14-0. 12-0 Belair right now. Masciarelli dropping back, looking into the end zone, has the ball tipped, nearly intercepted, but it falls incomplete of his intended receiver, Ben Taylor, and so it'll stay 12-0 in favor of the Bellaire Big Reds.
Yeah, that's another sophomore for the Bobcats, number 22, Brian Brumfield. Defensive back did a nice job of breaking up the 2-point conversion.
And that there also could end up turning into a big play. You never know, but right now, as the half continues to wind, we're down to 1:37 left to play. Belaire's going to probably go into the locker room with a nice lead here at halftime.
Yeah, well, that touchdown, I'm sure Coach Magisto and his staff breathed a little sigh of relief, because when you're only up 6-0, you're just scoring an extra point away from being behind and losing the game. So that touchdown there gave him a little comfort zone for him, Scott.
Still the Big Reds taking a 12-0 advantage. The Bobcats will get the ball back and still do have a minute 37 to try and do something with here before the first half comes to a close. But the Big Reds doing it again, and once again a nice job that time offensively. Clint Lekanodus doing most of the damage that time on the last drive. Included in that, of course, was that big 58-yard run by Lekanodus that got him down to the 26-yard line. And so now the Bobcats will line up and set to return the ball again. Longwood's back deep to receive, along with Sigmund and James King are the 3 deep men back for the Bobcats, set to return this kick.
Of course, the kicker for the Big Reds is the junior letterman, Ryan Snyder, number 28.
So Snyder set to put the ball into the air. And the Bobcats set to return it. Snyder high end over end kick that'll come down. That's King. Across the 20. Gets a block across the 30, 35, 40. Dances across the 40 up to the 42-yard line. And again, another good return on the kick by the Bobcats. They'll have excellent field position with a minute 28 left to play here in the first half.
Yeah, the tackler on that play was number 12, Grant Allen. Of course, he's a senior veteran captain for the Big Reds, and he was the second leading tackler last year behind Richie Mamie, but Grant plays on every down. He's on the kick teams. Of course, offensively and defensively, he's come up big, so he's one of the last of the 48-minute men's, and nice tackle on the play by Grant Allen.
So it's first down and 10 now for the Bobcats on their own 42-yard line. They'll line up Stoner in the shotgun. He's a lone man in the backfield. And the Big Reds jumped again, I think.
I think Stoner's done a nice job of audibilizing or using his vocal abilities to draw the Big Reds offside, because that's about the 3rd or 4th time that the Big Reds have jumped into the zone.
He's been changing his cadence well, and it'll bring up a 1st and 5 situation, and those are the kind of things that start to upset a coach after a while. You got to watch that football, as they always tell you. Don't listen to the quarterback's voice. Watch the ball. Wait till it's snapped back.
Yeah, I think Coach Stoltz might have something to say about that during the halftime intermission.
Stoner again in the shotgun. Snap back to him. Rolls out to where his 3 receivers are. Looks over, has his man. Ball is caught up at the 46-yard line. Recepted that time by C.J. Longwood. That's good enough for a first down. Clock continuing to turn, though. We're down to about 1:10 left to play here in the opening half. Logwood that time coming up with a reception.
Yeah, that was a nice pickup by the Bobcats. Unfortunately for Logwood, he slipped on the turf and was down immediately. But first and 10, 1:13 on the stop clock, and Bobcats have an opportunity here before the half.
This time they're going to line Stoner up underneath center. Quicks drop back, and he just elects to go ahead and throw the ball into the ground to down it and stop the clock with 1:08 left to play here in the opening half. There is a penalty flag on the field. Let's see what this is. Substitution penalty.
Yeah, the
Bobcats.
The Bobcats are going to be whistled for a substitution penalty, and that's unfortunate because all they were trying to do was just stop the clock.
Now the clock will be stopped now with 1:08 left to play here in the opening half.
Of course, basically all it does is actually going to give them the down back.
But it makes it a 1st and 15 situation, or
Yeah.
1st and 15.
But I think at this stage of the game, the 5 yards isn't a real big issue, Scott. And
The clock's their enemy right now.
right, and they do get first down back over, and I think they can run off. I think they can run off 4 plays here in 1:08. So got a little discussion going on here between the wingman and the referee, and
now the scoreboard has it as 2nd down, and it is going to be 2nd down. So they do change the down marker.
no, I believe that's incorrect.
Now the officials are going to talk it back over, but as our official in the box has already told us, it should just still be 1st down, 1st and 15. But they're going to talk it over, so we'll get everything straightened out here sooner or later. It's a rainy day here in Bellaire as the field continues to take on water. And it is 1st down.
Yeah, obviously if they accepted the penalty, then the down must be replayed. That's not a penalty that involves loss of down. So, as we alluded to, they're going to get a chance to run their 1st down play again.
Stoner set up in the shotgun. 2 men split out to the near side, Logwood and Sigmund. Snap back. They'll roll him out. Looking downfield as his man. Pass caught by Logwood. C.J. Logwood knocked down at about the 35-yard line. It'll be good for a 1st down, a gain of 16.
Yeah, Stoner does a great job of delivering the football. The Bobcats pick up a 1st down, stop the clock. 56 seconds, they're going to have it 1st and 10 on about the 36-yard line. So
the Bobcats moving the ball well here to close the 1st half out. 1st and 10, ball on the 35. They'll bring Stoner up underneath center this time. Quick snap. He just rolls back and downs the ball again to stop the clock, and it'll bring up 2nd down and 10 on the 35.
Unfortunately for the Bobcats, as you can see, Scott, they're operating from the worst part of the playing field right now. They're right in the middle of that quagmire, so that's going to present some problems as far as dropping back, and Stoner trying to get some good footing to throw the pass.
And obviously trying to keep the ball dry. As soon as the officials, even though they wipe it off and lay it down, it goes right into a puddle.
Yeah, it's just
so there's not much you can do about that. The ball's going to be wet no matter what. And you can see Stoner himself is lined up also back where there's no grass left. He's just standing in mud right now. So footing will be a little treacherous. Looking downfield, has to get his pass off, and it's incomplete. Pass intended. That time for number 85, Brad DeHaze. Couldn't come up with a catch, so it falls incomplete, and they'll bring up 3rd and 10, but it does stop the clock with 45 seconds left to go, so the Bobcats will have at least 2 more cracks at it.
As we could see on that play, Scott, the footing is extremely difficult, and had the receiver come up with that reception, I think he would have fell to the turf regardless.
And would have fallen in bounds, so the clock would not have stopped. Would have continued to roll. 45 seconds, Stoner in the shotgun again. Logwood and Sigmund split out this side to the near side. Looking downfield is Stoner. Has his man. Pass is caught that time by DeHaze. He's out of bounds. Stopping the clock. Looks like he's shy of the 1st down by a yard or so. They get closer to about 2 yards. So it's going to be 4th down and 2. So they need to pick up a 1st down to keep this drive alive.
Of course, Brad is a nice-sized target. Goes about 6 foot, 210 pounds, and did a nice job of catching the football on that play. And let's see what Cambridge has in their bag of tricks here for 4th and 2 situation.
Officials are going to blow timeout. And Belair has elected to take a timeout. They want to make sure they're in the right defensive alignment. I'm not sure, and I'm sorry about this, but I'm not sure how many timeouts the Bobcats still have left in the first half.
If my stats are correct, and they're a little bit wet here, Scott, I believe they have 2 timeouts remaining.
So if they do want to elect to run the football to try and pick up the first down, they would be able to whistle a timeout to try and stop the clock still with 39 seconds left to play here in the opening half. So
we'll call that unofficially, Scott.
That is unofficial. But I believe they should still at least have 1 timeout left here in the first half.
Yeah, I was keeping track of it earlier, but unfortunately my notes are getting just a little wet.
It's a little soggy up here also, even though we're inside. Not as wet as some of the other folks.
I'll tell you what, that's a pretty nice turnout, Scott, considering the weather conditions. And
even here on the side that we're on.
Yeah, quite a few people from Cambridge braved the weather, and they're down here watching their beloved Bobcats.
Brought their umbrellas, brought their ponchos, you name it. Trying to stay dry.
Days like today, you find out if you're a true football fan.
That's true. Tell you what, I know from just my experience from going to games, I didn't mind if it was cold, didn't mind if it snowed, things like that, but when the rain was just, that's the worst, just sitting there in a driving rain. Ugh.
Really test your allegiance.
Yep. And then if it starts to get cold, then you're really cold. 4th and 2 on the 27. Stoner hands it off to Sigmund. Sigmund has enough for the first down, and he's across the 20 and down to the 18. Stoner says, I want a timeout, and he stops the clock with 32 seconds left to play. So they'll have first down and 10. Will the Bobcats at about the 18-yard line. So they pick up the first down. Gary Sigmund again picking up some nice yardage. That was a nice gainer that time. Got more than the 2 that they needed for the first down.
Yeah, Gary's shown good ability to run the football, and it does appear Cambridge has 1 timeout remaining. Just noticed the referee walking over to signal the Cambridge staff. And
so you were right on.
I certainly hope so. But
they at least did have a timeout to call there, so they do have, they got 32 seconds left, and that's enough time without a doubt to get 4 snaps off.
Yeah, the key is if they complete a pass, Scott, is to get the ball out of bounds.
Right.
Of course, that's easier said than done on a day like today, but they're going to be looking to throw some little down and outs, and they might even attempt to throw the ball in the end zone. Although so far today, Cambridge hasn't thrown any long passes, but if they have one in their arsenal, we'll probably see it here in the next couple downs.
They're on the 17-yard line of the Bobcats. They trail 12-0 right now. There's 32 seconds left to play. And there you go. As our truck calls it, the Great Lakes. No, we're not in Cleveland today. We're not in Erie. Not anywhere near there. We're not in Chicago. Nothing like that. We're here in the all-American town, Bellaire, Ohio. Enjoying a fine afternoon of football. 2 clubs playing well in the wet conditions. Stoner, shotgun, looking downfield. Has his man. The ball is caught, and he gets out of bounds. And also takes out one of the guys on the sideline, but his umbrella's okay. Pass caught that time by C.J. Logwood. Or was that Logwood? No, that was not Logwood. That was Kenworthy. It gets out of bounds, which was the key. Gain 6. 2nd and 4. Ball now down on the 10-yard line. Here's the replay again.
Yeah, the key to this play is that the Hayes does get out of bounds. They pick up 6 yards and only 6 seconds ticked off the clock. Nice hit on the play out of bounds on the fan with the umbrella.
You got to be careful when you're standing on the sidelines. Stoner looking towards the end zone. He's just going to elect to run it out of bounds. Was looking at Cunningham, that is, excuse me. Was looking at Cunningham in the end zone, but he was well covered, and really it was probably a good decision by Stoner to just get out of bounds and stop the clock. He gained 1. It's 3rd and 3.
Yeah, Cambridge has done a nice job of clock management here. That's 2 consecutive plays run in 6 seconds. So if you can run 2 plays in 12 seconds in high school football, you're a pretty efficient offense, Scott.
So it's 3rd and 3 now for the Bobcats. More importantly, there's 20 seconds left to play, and they're on the 10-yard line. Snap back to Stoner, looking towards the end zone. Gets his pass off, and it's tipped and incomplete. Chaz Call getting a hand up that time and knocking the pass down.
Yeah, we've talked about Chaz on the offensive side of the ball. Of course, he lines up at middle linebacker, and the coaches at Blair talked to some of the defensive coaches. They've been extremely pleased with his adjustment. Last year, he was an outside backer for the Big Reds, and this year he was asked to step into the middle linebacker post, and as we can see there, he has some versatility. He got outside and knocked down that pass.
So it's 4th down and 4, so the Bobcats faced with another 4th down situation. It'll be interesting to see if they try and run for it to get the first down with only 14 seconds left to play. or if they elect to try and go through the air again, they're going to line up in an I set. Logwood will go in motion. Snap back. Stoner looking downfield. There's a penalty flag. Stoner is going to be sacked with 7 seconds left. So we'll have to wait and see what the penalty is. Looks like it's probably going to go against the Bobcats.
Yeah, I would expect that'll be a holding call against the Bobcats. Of course, Belair will decline, and we see it here on the replay. It was a clip by the Cambridge offense. Of course, the Big Reds will decline and take over the football with just a few ticks left on the clock.
6 seconds left to play here in the opening half. So the Bobcats again have another big drive that's and an illegal block.
Yeah, it was actually a block below the waist, correct. So that was from the front, but it was below the waist. And
so nonetheless, the Big Reds will take over and probably elect to just take a knee and go into the locker room here and try and dry off a little bit at halftime with a 12-0 advantage right now over the Bobcats. Hard to tell it's 12-0 if you look at the scoreboard, isn't it?
Yeah,
looks like it's 18 almost there, but it is 12-0. Probably got a couple of lights and going. Believe me, anybody, we know what it's like to try and operate in the rain. We got enough wires running here and there and everywhere, and you can ask all our guys on the crew what it's like to try and have to set up in the rain. It's tough. But that's halftime now here from Nelson Field in Bellaire, with the Big Reds leading 12-0 over the Cambridge Bobcats. Let's take a break now. We'll come back with more. Some first half thoughts in just a few moments here on the News Channel 7 Game of the Week.
Selection is the T-Ball Queen meets Little Miss Fire Prevention Parade, featuring Audra Anderson and Don Steele on trumpet, and Zach Rose on bari sax, with the award-winning Flag Corps.
Tom Bechtel here as we're just about set for third quarter action. We're at halftime though, and the Big Reds are leading the Bobcats 12-0. And Tom, pretty well played first half, I'd think, even for the wet weather conditions that we do have here today.
Yeah, it's good to see the rain has subsided a little bit, and we did have a torrential downpour in that first half, but both teams played relatively well. Picked up some good yardage on the ground. Big story of the first half, Clint Lekanodus. 111 yards on 10 carries. Of course, he had the one big run for 58 yards. On the other side of the football, Cambridge looked pretty good offensively. Young sophomore Gary Sigmund had 11 carries for 66 yards. So both teams have had some success running the football.
And obviously today is a day when you're going to need success running the football, because throwing the football is going to be a job. And it has been a job for both clubs here so far this afternoon. And you see the players,
Of course, Belair, they've been noted for this. They come out in the second half with dry uniforms, and a good move by the coaching staff. But when was the last time you saw a Belair football team only attempt 5 passes in a half? So weather conditions were definitely a factor in the first half.
The Bobcats, unfortunately, they're still wearing the same jerseys they had on in the first half, but I don't think that's really going to be playing anything into their minds at all. Here's some first half stats for you here. First down wise, well, both clubs even at 10 apiece. Rushing yards, as you mentioned, Lekanodus with 111. The Big Reds have 158 total. And as you mentioned, also, Sigmund has 66 of the Bobcats' 71 yards rushing. Passing wise, you mentioned, look at that, only 5 attempts in the first half for the Big Reds. They completed 3 of them, while Stoner was 6 of 15. Passing yardage wise, 44 and 50. Total offense, there you see it, Belair almost doubling the Bobcats at 202 to 121, and only 1 turnover apiece each in the first half.
Well, there were a total of 5 fumbles, but fortunately for both teams, they recovered 4 of them. Blair had 2 fumbles, lost 1. Cambridge had 3 fumbles, but recovered all 3. These statistics were provided by Ken Sickle from the intelligence staff. Outstanding job. And the last statistic, which we didn't have up on the board, rain parkas. Belair had 13, Cambridge had 21. So the advantage goes to Cambridge in that category.
How about umbrellas?
Yeah, outstanding job by Ken. I'll tell you, he gave us the, in the first half also, we noticed Lekanodus had 111 yards. Richie Materkoski, the fullback, picked up 41 yards rushing. And we already talked on the Cambridge side of the ball. Most of the rushing was done by the young sophomore, Gary Sigmund.
Sigmund has been impressive here this afternoon, and so have the Bobcats, truly. I mean, they come in here at 0-4 on the season, as we've mentioned, but yeah, not to belabor the point at all, but they have not played like an 0-4 team at all here in the first half. While the Big Reds, they have not really played badly at all either. Obviously in the wet conditions, it's going to be tough, and a lot of times people will say the weather can be a great equalizer and can kind of bring somebody down a little bit, but really the Big Reds have been impressive also in the first half. They had a good half of ball themselves.
Well, if Coach Spencer would like to have one playback, I think it would be the long run by Lekanodus. That set up the second touchdown of the first half. And all this in weather conditions like this, Scott, a 2-touchdown lead is big. It's just tough to get anything going today, and to try to score points today it's a whole lot more difficult job. So that second touchdown was a real big key, and like we said before, it gives Blair just a little bit of breathing room. But no, the Bobcats have looked extremely impressive for a team that's 0-4 and shown some ability to move the football.
And so the crowd still sticking around here, too, for the second half of play as the rain continues to fall down. It has subsided just a little bit, not as heavy as it was at times in the first half. The field, though, is forming some puddles heavily at about the 35 to 40-yard line out here to my right. And then also up here to the left side, you can see down there on the 30-yard line, there also are some puddles starting to form, too. Obviously, that's the main playing area of the football field, and that's the part that's going to take the most damage, and it has so far here in the first half. But overall, really, the condition's not horrible or anything like that. So, and obviously, both clubs have to go through them both. So, it's part of football.
Yes, it is, Scott. Interestingly enough, I did have a chance to get down here a little early this morning, and these Blair fans are just unbelievable. Just about the worst weather conditions in terms of rain and gloomy and dark and that. But Got a chance to get here about 11 o'clock, and there was actually 500 to 600 people already sitting in the stands in their seat. And I think just, I know up and down the Ohio Valley there's fans in every town and every village, but Blair fans take a back seat to no one.
They're something special here in the All-American town. They wait for Saturday afternoon football here in Bellaire, and it's like a job. It's like going to church. It's like you name it. It's something special to them, and they look forward to it. We turn out week in and week out, no matter what.
We talked about it on the Edison broadcast, Scott, and the good Lord and Mr. Nelson decreed that football will be played on Saturday afternoons in Blair, and they love it down here in the All-American town.
So the Big Reds will put it into play here as Snyder kicks her into action here, and King with the reception on his own 15. Gets a block. He's got a hole across the 35 and up to the 41. And again, there's going to be a late hit. So they're going to gain 15 more yards. They'll be across midfield. They're going to have excellent field position to start off the second half, and that's exactly, I'm sure, what Coach Spencer was hoping for coming out here in the second half of play. The Bobcats again got a good kick return across the 40, but then with the late hit penalty, they're going to pick up more yardage.
Yeah, and the nice thing about this penalty, it's going to put them out around midfield, which is one of the drier parts of the football field. So it's going to give them a chance to operate with relatively good field position.
So it's going to be 1st and 10 for the Bobcats. Ball on the 42-yard line as they open up the second half of play. Split backfield behind Stoner. 2 wideouts to the near side. Kenworthy and also Logwood. They'll give the handoff to Lawrence. And he'll push ahead down to about the 37-yard line. So a gain of close to 5 that time, and it'll be 2nd down and 5 now for the Bobcats. $12-0 our score here as we open up the second half of play, with Bellaire leading. I set this time behind Stoner. They'll split out Brumfield to the near side, Kenworthy to the far side. Give the handoff to Lawrence again, trying the middle of that football field, and nothing doing that time. Bubba Sechrest in on that one. Chaz Call in there, along with Jeremy Lemley, also in on the tackle that time for the Big Reds. Just a host of Big Reds in on the tackle that time, and bring Lawrence down after a short gain of maybe 1. It'll be close to 3rd down and about 4.
Yeah, on that play, we got a chance to see the senior leadership of the Blair defense. Sechrest, Call, Lemley, Taylor, all 4 of them in on the stop, and that Blair defense swarms to the football.
Here's a big down, 3rd down and about 4 from about the 36. In motion. That time goes Sigmund, and there's a penalty flag. False start against the Bobcats. So the procedure penalty will move them back 5 yards. And it's now going to be 3rd down and about 10. Close to about 9. 3rd and 9.
Yeah, Cambridge only picked up 20 yards in penalty in the first half compared to 40 for Belair, but I'm sure that's not the penalty that Coach Spence, although coaches never won any penalties, but that one right there especially hurts with the third down and short, sets up a 3rd down and 9 situation.
So it's 3rd and 9 now. Ball on about the 42-yard line. And they're going to line Stoner up in the shotgun. Lawrence and Sigmund in the backfield with him also. They're going to send Lawrence now out in motion. And again, another procedure penalty. So the false start penalty now will make it 3rd and 14 as they lose 5 more yards. So the Bobcats back-to-back penalties for a total of 10 yards the wrong way.
Well, it sets up a play here, Scott, where Cambridge is probably going to have to go to the longer passing game, and so far during the game they haven't shown the ability to throw the football down the field, and Coach Spencer is going to get a timeout right now. The
officials right now with their And an official's timeout. Now they'll blow the ball back into play.
Yeah, apparently I was incorrect here. I thought Coach Spencer was going to offer a timeout.
I think what he wanted was he wants an explanation on the false start. And I think what one of the officials said, we'll tell you on your timeout, Coach.
Yeah.
We'll explain to you what you're doing wrong.
Of course, an official can, or excuse me, a coach can request a timeout to review a ruling, but in the event that he's wrong, it's going to cost him a timeout. And Coach Spencer elected not to go that route.
So they snap it back to Stoner in the shotgun, looking out downfield, rolling out, intercepted. Pass picked off by Jeremy Lemley. Lemley with the nice job that time to step right in front of the pass.
Yeah, give the interception to Lemley. Credit the assist. 58. Bubba Sechrest. Big time pressure on this play. Stoner threw it just a little bit early. And big INT for Jeremy Lemley, the middle linebacker. But great pass rush by the senior captain veteran, Bubba Sechrest.
Every time you turn around, if it's on offense or defense, seems like you're mentioning his name for opening up a hole for the tailback to get through, or putting pressure on the quarterback, or making a nice stop on the defensive line of the opposing team's tailback.
Of course, Bubba's about 6 foot tall, 227 pounds, and he's a 2-year letterman, so that kind of play is expected from the big fella. Lekanodus
trying to get around end. He gets into Bobcat territory, out of bounds at about the 46-yard line. So Lekanodus with a gain of about 7 yards, and it's going to be actually closer to a gain of about 8. It'll be second down and about 2. As Lekanodus gets it up to about the 46-yard line, they need to get to just about the 44 for a first down. Sochor and Taylor split out to the near side this time as the Big Reds get ready for second and short. 9:30 left on the clock here in the third quarter. 12-0 in favor of the Big Reds. Hand up in the backfield. That's Materkoski, and right there in the backfield to meet him is Brumfield, number 22. Great tackle that time. A loss of 1. It's going to be third down and 3.
Of course, we've talked about the young sophomores on the offensive side of the football for the Bobcats. Brian Brumfield, he's only 5'6", 165, but he's a sophomore on the defensive side of the ball. So there are some young fellas in this Bobcat lineup that show a little bit of promise for the future.
So it's third down and now about 3 from the 47-yard line. 2 wideouts again to the near side. Masciarelli wants to throw it, does. That time to Materkoski, but again the defense is there for the Bobcats. That time number 89, Jason Kenworthy, in on the tackle. Pulling Materkoski down is going to bring up a 4th and 6 situation, and the Big Reds are going to be forced to punt. So a nice defensive effort that time out of the Bobcats.
Yeah, Kenworthy did a great job of smelling out that play. Blair let the defensive rushers come through. Kenworthy sensed the screen, and he was right there to meet the Big Red receiver.
Sigmund back deep to receive, along with Logwood for the Bobcats. Taylor set to do the punting. High snap, has to take a step back on it, does. But that allows his defensive coverage team to get down and get on top of the ball. It'll be down inside the 15, down at about the 12-yard line. So, nice punt that time, and it'll pin the Bobcats back at their own 12 to start this drive. First and 10 for Cambridge on their own 12-yard line, trailing 12-0 with 8:09 left to play here in the third quarter.
Yeah, Benny did a nice job of catching the football, first of all, Scott, and gets off about a 35 or 36-yard punt. So,
and a good job with his plant foot that time, because he was standing right in the middle of all that mud action going on at about the 40-yard line area, down around the 35. But he planted his foot, got a penalty flag that was just thrown into the air.
I would have to say that that penalty flag may have been just a little bit late. And I thought on the play, Scott, if we've got it here on replay, I'd like to see it. It appeared that one of the Big Reds might have touched the football while it was in the air. Of course, that is kick-catching interference. And Mr. Rusty Vermillion, the referee, is down there sorting out the play. But
I noticed that, too, and I wasn't sure if you're... I think we do have it. Here's the replay on the punt.
Okay, we see here Taylor does a nice job of catching the football, kicks the ball high into the air, and it appeared, well, we're not going to have it here on the screen, but it appeared the ball did graze one of the Big Reds coming down. Of course, in high school football, that is a foul, and we'll see what they take, what option they take here.
I think they're going to force him to go ahead and punt it again.
That's obviously a wise choice for the Cambridge Bobcats.
Depending on the length of the penalty, which I don't know what the length would be.
Of course, we got one little problem here. Of course, the chains had already moved, and we got to reset everything and get situated here. But
If they would have accepted or if they would have declined the penalty,
they could have taken an awarded fair catch, would have went at the 15-yard line, which was the end result of the play anyway. So
but obviously to their advantage to go ahead and have them punt it again and try and get a nice return.
Of course, that's not going to bring a round of approval from the Blair fans, but it is going to set up a 4th down and long situation here. And of course, Blair.
Now they march the penalty off, which goes back to the 35, and so Cambridge is going to come out of this with much better field position than they originally had after the punt by Ben Taylor the last time. So Taylor this time, instead of standing on about his 35 the last time, is going to be standing on about his own 20. And also here's when you hope for another good snap for Bellaire. They don't want to have a bad snap on this one. Taylor, the punt, gets a nice foot into it. Back to Sigmund. Gets around a tackler who slips, and he gets across the 25 and up to about the 27-yard line. So they gain about 13 or so yards that time, having him punted over again, and gets them a little bit out of the bad area back near their own goal line. So they'll be up to about the 27 to start this drive off here in the third quarter. This is their second drive of the second half. They opened up the second half of the drive that ended on a Lemley interception. They still trail 12-0 to the Bobcats. 7 minutes and 50 seconds now left to play here in the third quarter. And the Bobcats trying to get on the scoreboard. Rain still coming down just so lightly right now. It's almost got down to a near sprinkle, but the field already soaked. Hand off to Sigmund. Sigmund gets a couple. Not even a couple, maybe one. We'll call it 3rd down and about 9. Again, the Big Reds right on top of that one. Not allowing Sigmund to get more than a short gain.
Yeah, 2 of the youngsters come in on that play. John Keller, one of the defensive tackles, along with Wes Carter, the other defensive tackle. Wes is only a junior, but both those fellows did a nice job of stopping the run of the Cambridge Bobcats.
So it's going to be 2nd down and 9 now for Cambridge. 2 wide out split to the near side. Stoner again lined up in the shotgun. In motion, that's Sigmund to the near side. Stoner rolling out, pressure from the backfield. Sechrest, and then it's going to be Lemley who comes down with the sack. Sechrest was in there, also was Chirpus pressuring him from the backside, but then it was Lemley who just came up from the front and hauled him down.
Yeah, another fellow in on that play, number 66, John Keller, and Coach Magistro said he's just a football player, one of the unsung heroes for the Big Reds. You don't hear his name called a whole lot, but does a solid job on both sides of the football, and he said he's just the epitome of what a football player is all about, just hard-nosed, blue-collar type player.
That's a tough loss for the Bobcats to take. It brings up a 3rd and long situation back to the 22, or about a 3rd and 15 situation now. And this is tough to pick up in these wet conditions, trying to pass for 15 yards. And you don't want to have a turnover down this deep in your own territory. Stoner lined up in the shotgun. Again in motion. This time that's Vance. Hand off to Sigmund, and doesn't fool too many people as he gets up to about the 25-yard line. It'll be a gain of about 4, but it's still going to bring up 4th down and about 11.
Once again, a sure tackle by John Keller.
And so now the Bobcats are going to have to punt from deep in their own territory, and they're going to hope not for a bad snap themselves.
Yeah, Blair has 2 pretty exciting fellows back here on the kick return, number 12, Grant Allen, and Richie Materkoski, number 44. So both these fellows possess the ability to take the football a long way.
Kenworthy sent to punt. As you mentioned, Allen and Materkoski back deep to receive. Nearly blocked that time was the punt, and they're going to call running into or roughing the kicker. We'll have to wait and see.
Of course, in high school football, it's only a 15-yard penalty, whether you run into them or thing. And we see the indication there by the referee. They did indeed run into or rough the kicker. And in high school football, 15 yards, automatic 1st down. So the Bobcats are going to be in business.
And really, it wasn't a true bad snap, but it was a snap off to the side.
Yeah, I think in college football, if you see this play there, he just grazed the kicker. College football, that would merely be a 5-yard penalty, not an automatic 1st down, but unfortunately, in the high school ranks, we don't have that penalty, and the referee correctly threw the flag and going to mark off 15 yards against the Big Reds.
Tell you what, I'm glad I have you around, because that's what I was going to say. If it's only running into the kicker, it would only be a 5-yard penalty.
Well, tonight down at Morgantown, that will be the case.
Right. We're out there at South Bend where you'll have your attention here
as we speak, Scott, I'm getting a little nervous. I'm looking forward to going home and checking that game out.
Of course, by the time the folks see this, we'll know if the Buckeyes, Fighting Irish, were a winner or if the Mountaineers were a winner.
Getting to be a lot of excitement on the college football season this year, especially for the local folks.
A lot of fun. 1st and 10 now for the Bobcats on the 40. Handoff. That goes to Vance this time.
And Chaz call there to meet the ball carrier.
Vance a short gain of about 1. It'll bring 2nd down now at about 9. Down to 5 minutes to play here in the 3rd quarter.
Yeah, this game's moved along rather rapidly, Scott. Of course, both teams have elected to keep the ball on the ground, and the clock does tend to turn, but
and the clock continuing to turn against the Bobcats, who trail 12-0. They come up to the line of scrimmage with Stoner lined up in the shotgun. They'll split 3 guys out to the far side. 2 wideouts, and then also Lawrence is split out there, too, in the wing position. Looking downfield, and nice catch that time by number 89, Jason Kenworthy. Gets the hand up and then brings it in to make the diving snag. It'll be a gain of about 5, and it's going to bring up 3rd down and about 3.
Despite the bad weather conditions, Scott, we've seen a couple outstanding catches and just a great job of going after that football by Kenworthy and hanging on to the leather.
So Kenworthy comes up with a reception, and it'll be 3rd down now and about 4 for the Bobcats. 4 minutes left to play here in the 3rd quarter. Split backfield behind Stoner. On 3rd and 4, they give it to Lawrence. He tries the middle of the line, pushes ahead for a gain of maybe 2. And it's going to bring up 4th down and about 2.
I tell you, here early in the 3rd quarter, the Big Reds have done a great job of stopping that run. Cambridge had some success in the first half with Sigmund off the tackles and around the ends, but here in the 3rd quarter, Big Reds have come up big.
So the Bobcats are going to be forced to punt again. Kenworthy will have to drop back. Going back deep to receive for the Big Reds is going to be Derek Sochor and also Clint Lekanodus. Short snap. That one, again, they run into him, and they're going to get the ball back with the Bobcats. So the punting game has worked well for Cambridge.
Yeah, interestingly enough, at the other end of the play here, we had a little contact, no flag thrown, but we see it here on the replay, no doubt about it. It's a roughing the kicker.
That was more of so than the last one.
Yeah, this was a definite roughing the kicker. And down at the other end, we're not going to see it here on the screen, but Cambridge ran into the receiver of Blair, but to my knowledge, there was not a penalty throw at that end of the play.
So the Bobcats pick up about 15 more yards. There you see it, the roughing the kicker penalty. 1st down and 10 now for the Bobcats.
It's going to set up.
The ball is placed at the 30-yard line.
The ball should be placed at the 37 spot. That play was snapped from the 48 of Cambridge's side of the field, and it's going to take them down about the 37 of Blair. So Blair's been their own worst enemy here, Scott, in the 3rd quarter with 2 roughing the kicker penalties.
They're going to line it up at the near side hash mark to try and away. Get out of that mud puddle that's on the far side. So it's 1st and 10 now for the Bobcats. Brings a roar from both sides of the stadium. The Big Reds fans employing their defense to try and stop the Bobcats one more time. 3 minutes, 6 seconds left to play. Quick pitch in the backfield. That's Sigmund. Sigmund not much doing that time, and another penalty flag comes flying in there. I'll have to wait and see what that's all about. Could be a holding call. And it is holding against the Bobcats. And so now that'll push the Bobcats back. Brings up a roar from the Big Reds crowd.
We get a chance to look at it here on Scott on the screen, and I think you can see it right there. Number 31's jersey is just about coming off his back, and a great call by the referee, Johnny on the spot. And a lot of times they talk about holding can be called on every play, and I tend to disagree with that, Scott, but on that play, as clearly evidenced by the screen, an obvious hold call.
I think my mom would have a field day with you, because she always says that when she's sitting down at her seat in Mountaineer Field.
Well, a block of that nature definitely affected the play, and obvious call and a good call by the officials.
Good call by the officials that time, most definitely. Stoner going to be sacked.
Tell you, big Aaron Sherpas, 6'1", 235-pound junior for the Big Reds, showed there why the coaches are extremely high on this young man. They feel he has the real good feet. Obviously, he's real strong, and they feel he could be one of the best linemen to come out of Blair if he continues to work hard and progress at the rate he's been going so far early in his career.
Sherpas has had his nose at the ball several times this afternoon defensively. He's pressured the quarterback a couple of times. That time bringing Stoner down for a huge loss. It's now 2nd down and 25. Ball back on the Cambridge side of the field at the 49-yard line. High set this time behind Stoner. On 2nd and 25. Fake the handoff, rolling out, wants to throw the screen back to the near side, and it was complete, but unfortunately when Sigmund made the reception, he was already laying down.
Yeah, unfortunately on that play, Mother Nature came out the winner because Cambridge had a chance. Sigmund was open with the blocker out here, would have picked up some nice yardage, although they had a 2nd and extremely long situation, but unfortunately he slips, sets up a 3rd down and 30.
So another 5-yard loss now for the Bobcats, and it will be 3rd and 30 on their own 44-yard line. Stoner's going to line up in the shotgun. We're under a minute to play in the 3rd quarter. Snap back. They're just going to elect to hand it off to Sigmund. Gets a hole. Sigmund dancing back to midfield. Get a gain of about 7, but it won't be enough. It's still going to bring up 4th down at about 23. So the Bobcats will be forced to punt, but we'll see what happens this time.
Yeah, so far the most exciting plays in the 3rd quarter have occurred on punting situations.
The Big Reds coaching staff may elect to say, just let him punt the ball, let's get it back.
Yeah, I think they'll probably put a safety on this time and elect to try to return the football.
Number 3, Gary Sochor, and number 15, Clint Lekanodus, deep for the Big Reds.
So Kenworthy ready to punt. Bad snap this time, and it is blocked finally. So the Big Reds have been in there every time, close to blocking it several times. With the last 2 opportunities, they were called for roughing the kicker, which returned into Cambridge 1st downs. Now they take over right at about midfield, so here we go.
Scott, I think it's kind of ironic. They really didn't have a rush on. If you'll see here, the ball's extremely slow in getting back to the kicker, and there really aren't too many Big Reds in sight. 58 comes in there strong, Brian Sechrest, but they really didn't have a rush on, but the snap was just so poor that they did get the opportunity to block the punt.
And that wraps up the 3rd quarter of play. We've played 3 here this afternoon from Nelson Field in Bellaire. It's still 12-0 in favor of the Big Reds. They'll take over with the 4th quarter. It's underway. State Field Bellaire for the start of the 4th quarter of play. 12-0 in favor of the Big Reds. Ty Masciarelli looking out that time for his receiver, Richie Materkoski. Ball, though, just a little bit underthrown, a little bit in front of Materkoski that time. Falls incomplete, so to bring up 2nd down and 10 as we begin the 4th quarter of play in a very fast-moving ball game here this afternoon from Nelson Field in Bellaire.
Well, Scott, I think this game's been a lot closer than a lot of the so-called experts or fans at home would have thought. But it's just incredible how Cambridge, year in, year out, tends to be Blair's nemesis. Last year, even in that great playoff run they had, which they mauled a lot of people, Cambridge gave them a fine game last year.
Lekanodus out of the backfield looking for a block. Gets across the 45 and down to the 44. It'll be a gain of about 6. And it'll bring up 2nd down at about 4. Closer to a gain of 7. We'll call it 3rd down and 3. 3rd and 3.
Yeah, once again, for those youngsters watching at home, Jeremy Ham on that play. Great tackle. Grabbed him around the ankle, put him to the turf, but Lekanodus had already rambled for 7 yards.
So it's 3rd and 3 now for the Big Reds. Ball on the 44-yard line. As we open up the 4th quarter. Handoff. That's Lekanodus. He's got a 1st down and more. Lekanodus down to the 30-yard line where he's wrestled down in the mud. Right now I think he's busy picking the mud out of his eyes.
Yeah, the tackle on that play was credited to number 89, Jason Kenworthy, but that may have been a touchdown saving tackle.
And you see him wiping his face out. He is wiping his eyes out right now. Here comes Lekanodus right here, and earlier we saw Sigmund go down in a mud puddle. Here's another one.
Once again, great job of tackling the ball carrier, hit him low around the ankles, and when you hit him down there, they're going to go to the turf, and in this case, they're going to go to the mud bowl.
So it's 1st and 10 now for the Big Reds. Ball on the 30-yard line. I set this time. Fumble on the snap, and I think Bellaire got it back. The Bobcats had a man right on top of it, but I think it just squirted from underneath of his shoulder pads and went right back over to the Bellaire Big Reds, and it does so. So the Big Reds will keep possession of the football. They'll lose about a yard or so, and it'll be 2nd down at about 11.
Yeah, once again, both teams have 3 fumbles on the day, but fortunately the offense has been able to recover all but one, and that was a case of Blair turning the ball over in the first half. But big recovery there. Cambridge had a golden opportunity.
There you see right where they're operating. Worst part of the field to be on right now.
This is the kind of day that John Madden and all these linemen love, Scott.
There goes Lekanodus spinning into the defensive backfield and down close to the 20-yard line. He's down to about the 22. That'll be close to another Bellaire first down. Gain of about 8 or 9 that time on the carry by Lekanodus. He's having a fine afternoon so far, well over 100 yards rushing. Most of that coming on that big 58-yarder he had in the first half.
Well, this is what I think the Blair staff would like to see. They'd like to establish the running game. If they're going to have success down the road, they've got some tough opponents waiting in the wings, and they need to establish their running game.
There goes Lekanodus again. He'll have a Bellaire first down. He's across the 20 into the 19. So the Big Reds just continue, as you said, to pound it on the ground, trying to establish that running game and picking up yardage for the first down as they move it across the 20 and down to the 19. So the Big Reds pick up enough yardage for the first down. As the clock continues to roll, we're down to 9.5 minutes left to play in this afternoon's ball game. Big Reds already leading 12-0. Ty Masciarelli under center. Fumble again from center. And Masciarelli that time, the man in there to just jumps right on top of the loose pigskin and recovers it again for the Big Reds.
Yeah, once again, what should be the simplest play in football, that short handoff to the quarterback, has become extremely difficult today, and we get a chance to look at it here, and the snap never got to Masciarelli's hands. It just bounced off, and you can see there the center just lost the football. And
he lost the handle before he even snapped it.
And he actually tried to center it again, so give some credit to Jed LaRoche for staying with it, and Blair still has the football.
Masciarelli's going to just tuck it and run with it. Got a host of blockers in front of him. He slides down out of bounds at about the 10-yard line. They'll roll him out at about the 11. He's going to be just shy of another Bellaire first down. It's going to be third down and about 2.
We talked about Jed LaRoche on that last play. The center did a nice job of actually snapping the ball twice. But he's only a little fella, 158-pound junior at the center position. But Coach Magistro and his staff love this little guy. They said he keeps his feet moving. He'll fight you tooth and nail, and he's only 158 pounds, but it's 158 pounds of pure football player.
Handoff in the backfield. That's Lekanodus getting outside, inside the 10, and inside the 5. Ruled out at about the 4-yard line. Clint Lekanodus again picking up enough yardage for the first down. A nice gainer again, that time by Clint.
I'll tell you, we might be seeing the coming out party of Clint Lekanodus. Of course, he had a big effort against Beaver Local earlier in the year in the mud and the rain, so maybe he likes to play in the mud, Scott.
He's a mudder. 8.5 minutes left to play here. First and goal from the 4-yard line now for the Big Reds. Already leading 12-0, looking to add to more to their total. First and goal now. Masciarelli underneath center. Materkoski and Lekanodus. They'll hand it off to Lekanodus, trying the middle of the field. A gain of maybe 1 down to the 3-yard line. It'll be 2nd and goal now for the Big Reds.
Scott, the thing you have to love about the Blair football team, obviously the fact that it looks like they're going to be off to a 5-0 start here this season. First game of the year, they go out against St. Clairsville. They win the game in the air. Total passing performance. Next week, Beaver Local, totally on the ground. Of course, the weather had something to do with that. The next week, Edison, big ball game. They win it defensively. So they've shown a lot of different ways to win football games.
Right now, they're looking to add to their total, leading 12-0. Masciarelli rolling out, looking towards the end zone. He's going to throw it, and it's tipped and incomplete. Looking for Grant Allen that time, but the ball was tipped and knocked out of bounds by the Bobcats.
Yes, Scott, it appeared that Corey Moore, the senior linebacker, did a great job of getting to the football and knocking down what appeared to be a sure touchdown effort for the Big Reds.
So a touchdown-saving tip that time. Brings up a 3rd and goal situation, ball on the 3-yard line. So we'll see what the Big Reds elect to go with here this time on a 3rd and goal, ball on the 3. They'll split 2 wideouts, Sochor and Taylor to the far side. Handed off to Materkoski, touchdown! Richie Materkoski gets into the end zone for the touchdown. And the Big Reds now lead 18-0.
Well, the Big Reds have done it today with a 2-yard touchdown run by Lekanodus, a 3-yard run by Materkoski, and a 4-yard run by Lekanodus. So it's basically been simple power football. We get a chance to look at it here. Nothing fancy about this play. Materkoski finds the end zone.
Touchdown for Richie Materkoski. And Belair is going to go for the 2-point conversion. Already leading 18-0. Masciarelli to the end zone, and it's incomplete. Had 2 receivers, Chaz Call and Ben Taylor, both there. And the ball falls incomplete, so it's 18-0 in favor of the Bellaire Big Reds with 7 minutes and 45 seconds still left to play here in the ball game. Here's the replay on the 2-point conversion, as we mentioned. Going to the end zone, and both Taylor and Chaz Call in the same place at the same time, and that doesn't work out usually. You got 2 guys fighting for the ball, and it just falls incomplete. And so now the Bellaire Big Reds lead 18-0 over the Cambridge Bobcats and look to be on their way to a 5-0 start here in 1996. And unfortunately for the Bobcats, they look, can't say it just yet because there's still time left in the ball game. You never want to count anybody out yet. Yeah, it looks like they may be off to an 0-5 start here.
Yeah, unfortunately now they're battling the Big Reds as well as the clock and the weather, and those just aren't good combinations. But next Saturday, Scott, we'll be back here at Nelson Field. Steubenville Catholic comes into town. The Crusaders are Coach Farrar. If they're not the best 2 and 3 football team in the Ohio Valley, I'd like to know who is. And I'm sure they're going to present a real big challenge to the Big Reds and their undefeated record.
City championship in Steubenville last night. They nearly came away with another win over the Big Red.
Yeah, other than a blocked extra point, we might still be up there playing that game. That was a great defensive struggle.
High end-over-end kick that'll come down. That's King taking it from his own 10. Coming to the near side, gets a block, trying to cut back, and you're not going to do that on this wet turf today. And he goes right down there with his tracks. So the Bobcats will take over 1st and 10. Ball just over the 20-yard line. You were up at that Steubenville Catholic game last night, and you also had a chance to see the Crusaders the week before against Lindsley. How did they look?
I'll tell you what.
From the 2 ball games.
The first series of last night, Steubenville took it right down the field, but after that, it was all Steubenville Catholic. They shut down the potent Big Red offense, and I'll tell you, Coach Farrar has a nice football team. Unfortunately, they've lost 3 consecutive weeks to 3 teams that look like they're going to go undefeated deep in the season, namely Martins Ferry, Lindsley, and of course Steubenville. So they take on everyone, and just an outstandingly tough schedule for the Crusaders.
And it doesn't get any easier for them next week either. As you mentioned, they'll be here taking on Belair. Stoner rolling out, wanted to go downfield, had nowhere to throw it, so he just tries to get it around the corner, can't. There's a penalty flag that falls also.
Of course, Belair is going to head into the meat of their schedule. We already talked about next week, Steubenville Catholic. The following week, Indian Valley, a new opponent.
A tough Indian Valley team that's got wins over St. Clairsville and also over Meadowbrook just last night, a winner over the Colts.
Of course, at the end of the season, how about Murderers Row? Brook, of course, they're down a little bit this year, but we know Coach Boogert always has a traditionally strong team. Ironton, hard to believe, Ironton lost again last night, Scott. They're off to a 1-4 start. They have not lost 2 regular season games since 1968. So this is just an unbelievable...
this is not a typical Ironton football season.
No, they're a traditional powerhouse, and they're off to a 1-4 start, but they have been playing good football and losing by small margins, so they'll be tough. And then, of course, at the end of the year, right now there's 2 undefeated teams, both 5-0. Looking at that last game of the year, big arch rival Martins Ferry, that will be a great one.
Both those teams not only could be battling for the Sparky Trophy, but also be battling for undefeated seasons as they come into that point. And We'll know more, obviously, about the playoffs as that time becomes.
Of course, for both teams, there's a lot of water still to go under the bridge, so that's a long way down the road. But if those two teams are 0-9, it's still a great game. So
it doesn't matter, yes.
A lot of good football waiting on the horizon for Blair and their fans.
Another loss on the carry that time by the Bobcats brings up a 2nd and 21 situation. 6:45 left to play here in the ball game as the clock continues to roll. The Bobcats trailing 18-0 right now to the Big Reds. Stoner set up in the shotgun with Sigmund and also Lawrence in the backfield, but we have a false start that time by the Bobcats, a jump on the offensive line.
Yeah, the tight end was just a little bit early, had a nice swim move, but unfortunately he was jumping the count by a second or two.
So it's going to bring up 2nd down now and 26 as they move the ball back now to the 4-yard line.
Is offside, Cambridge.
Scott, somehow I feel that swim move's just a little bit appropriate for a day like today.
Most definitely. And this water wasn't just treading water that time. So it's now 2nd and 26, ball on the 4, and right now the Bobcats in the wrong area as they trail 18-0, 6:20 left to play. Inside handoff goes to Sigmund. And he'll get up to about the 8-yard line, so a gain of 4. It'll bring up 3rd down and 22, though. Ball on the 8.
Tell you, Coach Magistro going to the bench now and getting an opportunity to get a few of the youngsters in there. Clint Ostrander's come in and checked in the defensive line, and he's number 54. He's a junior, and also Ryan Gongalik, number 25, is checked into the lineup.
So it's 3rd down and 22 now for the Bobcats on their own 8-yard line. This time the line, the I set behind Stoner. One wide out to each side. So the man in motion. Fumble on the snap. Stoner, though, picks it up. Throws it downfield. Has his man. It's caught that time by C.J. Longwood, the man who had gone in motion, but he's met right there as soon as he makes the reception for a short gain. And it'll bring up a 4th and long situation. Gain of about another 4 or 5 yards that time on the reception.
Scott, what's great about this Blair defense is their defensive backs are the strength of the squad. With Taylor, Sochor, Lekanodus, Allen, they have a great ability to close on the football. All 4 of those guys possess pretty good speed, and when you do make a reception, it's for short yardage.
As was the case on that last play, as it was a gain of 5. Brings up a 4th down and about 17 situation, so the Bobcats now will have to punt. Back to Kenworthy. Gets the punt away. Wobbly kick that'll come down to Materkoski. Fumble! And who's on top of it in that mess? The Bobcats were in there originally. We'll have to see. I think Cambridge does have it, and they do. So the Bobcats, I tell you, the punt has been their best play of the afternoon. They picked up the most yardage on that. Well, here's the punt again. Here's the replay. Just goes off Materkoski.
Yeah, he just mishandles this punt, and it's real tough to get a number, but I believe Brad just came off the sideline, and I was able to see his number from behind, but he is totally covered with mud. Nice recovery by the junior tight end, Brad DeHaze.
May not be able to read his number now after being in that mud puddle. 1st and 10 from the 44 now for the Bobcats. 4:40 left to play in the ball game. Split backfield behind Stoner now. 18-0 in favor of the Big Reds. Handoff inside to Lawrence. As that play was being snapped, number 40 from the far sideline, Jimmy Preston for the Big Reds was just running out onto the field at his linebacker position that time. So, as you mentioned, they're trying to get some of the youngsters into the ball game here, are the Big Reds coaching staff. And Preston just a little late that time, but he still got out there. And I think he may even had a hand in on the tackle that time.
Yeah, well, the Blair defensive staff's trying to get some of the younger fellas in there, give an opportunity to get some varsity competition.
This is the way. This is how they breed the winning here in Bellaire. They allow these youngsters to play in action when they're in their younger careers, or if they're not on the starting team, to give them a chance and get in there and try and let her also.
Well, in this second half, it's been a matter Blair has dominated the action, and other than some excitement in the kicking game, all out to roughing the kickers and a muff punt there, Blair's kind of totally dominated the second half of action.
3rd and 7 now for the Bobcats. Ball on the 47-yard line. We're down to 3:40 left to play here. This clock just continues to roll due to the fact that these teams just electing to run the ball. This has been a very fast-moving second half. In fact, We've been playing for less than a true hour so far here in the second half.
Does that mean I may see the kickoff of the Notre Dame game,
I think
Scott?
you've already missed it, but
wishful thinking.
Stoner looking downfield, pressured, rolls out, still looking, has his man, and it's caught. Kenworthy makes a diving snag, and that's going to be enough yardage for the first down as he gets it down to the 42-yard line. Nice catch again by Kenworthy. He showed the knack to be able to make diving catches and go down on one knee and make a reception also.
Yeah, Mike Stoner's done a nice job of delivering the wet and soggy football, and given a little bit more time and a little better weather conditions, I think we'd see a little more passing game out of Cambridge, but we get a chance to take a look at it here, and Stoner does a good job of rolling out and avoiding the rush, and he's been under heavy pressure all day. Does a nice job of delivering the football, and a fine catch by Kenworthy. Good coverage by Derek Sochor.
Fumble on the snap. Stoner going to be covered up that time. The Big Reds right in there. Ken McCormick, one of the guys in on the stack that time for the Big Reds. Also in on the attack, Ryan Gonlick, number 25. He's also into the ball game, a junior 5'9".
Yeah, McCormick's one of the second teamers in there now, and we see the mix up on the snap here, and of course this has been an occurrence on just about every other play, and McCormick, the big junior tackle, comes in and puts Mr. Stoner to the turf.
Down to 2:25 left to play in the ball game. I set this time behind Stoner. Second down and 12 now for the Bobcats on the Bellaire 44. Fake the handoff, roll out, wants to throw the screen back to the far side, but it's incomplete. That time, Stoner again pressured. The Big Reds getting a lot of action in that time on Stoner. Never had a chance to set up and try and throw the screen back.
Of course, this stage of the game, when you elect to pass and you're down 18-0, the defensive line tends to just tee off and come all out for the quarterback, and Mike Stoner's taking the brunt of that rush.
You can tell just by looking at his uniform, he's been in on a lot of the action today, has Stoner.
Yeah, I think Mike's going to sleep well tonight.
Clock stopped with 2:11 to play in the ball game. 3rd and 12. Ball on the 44. Stoner under center. Split back. Short drop. Trying to set up the middle screen that time.
Rushed by number 25.
And the ball falls incomplete, but there is a penalty flag.
Once again, Mike just did not have an opportunity to deliver the football, and we have a flag on the field, and the indication is
is that an illegal touch?
I know that's. He called illegal grounding of the football, apparently. Yeah, that's the indication is illegal grounding of the football, and this stage of the game, I don't think it's really going to matter. But
of course, does include a loss of down also, so it'll be 4th down now for the Bobcats.
That is a five-yard penalty and loss of down. But this stage of the game, I don't think it's really going to matter, Scott.
2:08 left in our ball game. And the Bobcats will punt it away, trailing 18-0.
Cambridge number 89, Jason Kenworthy.
Kenworthy set to do the punting. The Big Reds are going to elect to keep everybody up just in case of the fake. And it is a fake. They're just going to lob it downfield, and it is picked off. Sochor, Derek Sochor there with the interception. They did have a receiver in the area, did the Bobcats. Number 87, C.J. Longwood, was downfield, and it would not have shocked me if they would have completed that on a punt.
Well, that was going to be a real tough play. It's just almost impossible to throw that soggy football 30 or 40 yards down the field, but Cambridge had nothing to lose with only 2 minutes remaining in the game, and
Kenworthy got some on it, put it downfield. There you see they had Longwood in the area, but Sochor right there makes a nice adjustment on the football, comes up with the interception, and they'll take over with the Big Reds now. 1st and 10, and the ball is on the 24-yard line.
Of course, Derek's a 2-year veteran for the Big Reds, and he's one of their leading defensive backs, and he's come up with some real big plays over the last 2 seasons.
1st and 10 now for the Big Reds. Handoff in the backfield. I think that was 13. Quinn Campbell, it was.
Yeah, that's the sophomore fullback for the Big Reds, Quinn, and he gets an opportunity to play in the game and picks up his first carry.
So it's 2nd down and about 8, a gain of about 2 that time on the carry by Campbell. We're down to 1.5 minutes left in our ball game. 18-0 in favor of the Bellaire Big Reds.
Of course, as luck would have it, Scott, I think the rain has finally just about stopped, and isn't that quite natural?
Sure, the ball game's over, so we can turn the faucets off, right? Masciarelli, handoff again. That's Campbell one more time.
Campbell again, the ball carrier.
He'll get up to near the 30-yard line. Stopped at about the 28, actually.
Well, Coach Spencer's going to go to his bench, and some of the youngsters, number 12, Rob Kavner, number 81, Justin Wheatley, and a few of the other youngsters with the clean uniforms, number 84, Eric Fogel. They all get a chance to step into the lineup. And it's good to see some of the younger Bobcats get a chance to get in here and get some varsity action.
Get them some experience here. 45 seconds left. It's 3rd down and 6 now for the Big Reds. This time they'll give it off to Richie Materkoski, twisting and turning. He'll be close to a Bellaire first down. Needed to get to about the 34.
On the other side of the football for the Big Reds, number 27, David DeLong, a junior wide receiver, is coming to action to play. And as the clock winds down with only 22 seconds on a running clock, Scott, it's obvious the Big Reds are off to a 5-0 start, and who would have thought it for this season?
I tell you what, there were a lot of questions about Bellaire after their exciting season from a year ago, losing in the state championship game to Versailles. Many folks thought, well, maybe that was their one chance. They had it, but just unfortunately in that ball game, that's one for the ages. They lost, but boy, they've come back, and they're already 5-0 now here in 1996. As the clock runs out, and we have a final. 18-0 in favor of the Bellaire Big Reds as they improve to 5-0. The Bobcats fall to 0-5 here in 1996. And let's go ahead and take a break right now. We'll come back with some thoughts in just a moment. You've been watching the News Channel 7 game.
Like effort by the Big Reds. Didn't let the weather conditions deter them. They just came out, did the job they had to do against a team that's been their nemesis through the years, and just come out strong performance. 18-0. I'm sure Coach Magistro will take that. Did have some penalties and some things that he would not like to see, but all in all, he's got to be relatively pleased. 5-0, and now they get down to the business part of their schedule, and they got 5 tough opponents waiting on the horizon.
Yeah, it doesn't get any easier for Bellaire from here on out. In Cambridge, they come in. They're now 0-5 here. They've played well in every one of their ball games so far in 1996, but unfortunately still have not been able to crack into that win column just yet. But I'm sure somewhere down the road they'll be able to find a few wins here and there, especially by the effort that they have given today and in the other game that we had of them earlier on the air this season against the Martins Ferry Purple Riders. They have been a team that has hung in there in every ball game so far here in 96, and we, of course, wish them the best of luck throughout the rest of their campaign here in 1996. But speaking of, I guess,